I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews,
the latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time,
and Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And greetings, how are we doing out there? All across this great land of ours and around the world, it's time once again for the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And we're glad to have you with us, the beginning of another great week here in the greatest land and ever known to the history of mankind, or the greatest people of the greatest land. We're glad to have you with us today. And we are going to do something a little extensive this week or today. I don't know how long it will drag on or whether we'll be able to knock it out today. I think we'll probably be able to knock it out today. I just feel the necessity. I keep coming back to this. I'm sure to some people it may sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really think it's important that we spend some time when we deal with these narratives, these false narratives that are fabricated and supported by fake news, and that we take the time to put things in perspective, because it gets so discombobulated so fast, and the information changes, or the made-up information changes so quickly that the narrative can go in any different direction, any given direction at any given time, and it becomes very confusing. I find myself every morning when I scan out there over the news networks and everything, you kind of have to always step back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, how is this in context of what took place 24 hours ago? And then how is that in context to what's been taking place perhaps over the last week, and then over the last month, and then over the last year and a half? And it can get confusing really fast and become really frustrating for some people to understand what's going on here. But you keep at the center of your thought, hey, this is all made up. This is all a false narrative supported by innuendo, accusations, speculation that has, to this date, not offered any solid evidence one way or the other. And the important thing to remember is the entire purpose and objective is to delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency and try to at least give the appearance that this guy is just way in over his head. He just doesn't understand what's going on. And when he does put his hands to something, it's totally screwed up and totally against all the norms and protocol. And rightfully so, because it is. But they don't want you to think that that's acceptable. So we're going to try to put some context, some chronological context to some of the things that have happened since the election last November, particularly Obama's participation in place in this whole thing, because Obama's tried to keep a low profile. He has really tried to keep a low profile, and he has been somewhat successful because the media would never go after him. He is the holy grail of the liberal movement. So why would you go after the guy that basically is the icon, the man walking point in this whole thing? And we're going to try to expose that a little bit tonight. So having said that, let me get my partner in crime on here. Joe Hakos, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Just don't want to ever think about having to hear the words Obama and exposed in the same sentence.
Well, just envision. What's his name? Rahm Emanuel Eric Holder, and Barack Obama in a Chicago bathhouse. There you go.
I didn't want to go there. I just didn't want to do that. Just think of the bullet we dodged in November. We could be talking about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, well, that could be. I did see a little blip on the radar last week, and I hadn't thought of it till you just said that. I tell you what, folks, I've got dollars to donuts that says this woman actually tries to run again in 2020. There was a little article that came out. It was maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs that she's going to pick herself up and get back into the swing of things, And I'm thinking here, the defiancy of the corrupt is that no matter how much they're told or how much they're told and how much evidence is out there that they're not wanted, that they're not trusted, that they're not liked, within their own little worlds, they are the top of the food chain. And, no better example of that, of course, than our former president, Barack Obama. They can do no wrong, and everything that they do is justified because they have the good intent of all Americans at heart. That's the narrative there. But
John, when you have the wonders of wonders that are leading the Republican Party right now, yeah, I can understand why they would think they have a shot at it because these doofuses could screw up a one-car funeral.
Well, that's true. That's very true. The in for the progressives, the one thing that they have going in their favor, actually, despite their lack of popularity and losing offices, hands over fist, positions and elected seats, is that the Republicans are just as screwed up as they are. The only difference is the Republicans have done a much better job, per se, of hiding it. Because that's how.
I don't think it's hidden anymore.
No, it isn't. No, this last election cycle certainly exposed that idiocy, corruption, and the establishment has no borders. It has no borders, and it is just 6 of one, half a dozen other. They're two sides of the same coin. It really is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the Republicans have this. I was analyzing this over the weekend, and it's how they operate. Think about this. Democrats, they're as loony as they come. I mean, you don't get much crazier than a modern-day liberal. But at least they're crazy in the open. They're out there in the open. They're pushing their narratives. You got Nancy Pelosi out there thinking everybody likes her. She's got a 17% approval rating. Probably 15% of it comes from her district. And she still thinks that she's the leader of the party, that the party doesn't need to change. And so they have no problem getting out there and continuing to espouse the same crap in the same manner, thinking that eventually it's going to work. The Republicans, on the other hand, govern through complicity and silence. They just stand around and wait for everything to implode and then just step in when the voids are created. So there's two different styles in the way that they practice their ineptness. The Democrats do it in the open. The Republicans do it in secret until they get exposed. And then when they get exposed, they still just do nothing. They still just remain silent. They just send you out another campaign letter asking for money to keep them in office. And it works on both sides. It really does work on both sides. Listen, I was just really spending some time reflecting on this over the weekend. What is it? We got about 27% of the public claims to be Democrats within the Democratic platform, the way they're described in the platform. Now, I don't know how many of them know what the platform is, but if you ask them, I'm a Democrat, okay? 23% Republican. That's pretty even. And so the idiocracy extends both ways, and it's pretty much across the board. So, unfortunately, you got 23% on one side, 27% on the other side, and they're still affecting everything that's happening to the rest of us. And it's because, the methodologies, the way that they do it. The control of the media, I think, is primarily responsible. Because if the media wasn't out there playing to them and pandering to the left, I think everybody would just, put them back into that. We would have more credibility looking at websites like The Onion to get our news, But that's what that's why I look at things like Jon Stewart, or what's the other guy? Trevor Noah. That's the guy who's on it now. Steve Colbert, head of the night show now. These are the reliable news sources. Bill Maher. These are the people that the left looks for their news, because I don't know why, but that's where they look. Maybe there is absolutely no credibility left with the Democrat Party. It's confusing. That's why I kind of have to constantly say, you know what? Let's keep what's happening in front of us within perspective and context, because it is so freaking confusing right now. It's not hard to understand what's going on. What the hard part is understanding the how and the why. It really is important for us to do that. So, hey, look, we're going to go to our first break. When we get back, we'll try to break into this, the big facade, the false narrative, the fake news, the Obama administration, his legacy, and everything else that's going on right now. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
We're not arguing, we're explaining why we're right. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish, because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
My job is not to represent the world. My job is to represent the United States of America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Alrighty. Hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and I guess Joe just shot me a note here over the break, and I'm just the thought of it. I'm trying to fathom it. I'm trying to get my head around it. I don't, I'm becoming very fearful, Joe, that as we progress down the line here, or regress down the line, whichever way this ends up going, that we're going to find out that the Republicans, for all intent and purposes, are not, well, we already know they're corrupt and inept, but I mean just literally stupid. You would think, I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I think, okay, these guys are corrupt and everything else, but at least they have some level of intelligence that surpasses the average progressive. I don't know anymore. This idea that Paul is saying that CBO numbers, wasn't it just last week everybody was saying the CBO numbers are going to be skewed anyways? I mean,
yeah, well, CBO numbers, as we know from before, they can only crunch numbers that are given to them. Yeah. So if you don't give them the right the garbage in and garbage out routine.
Yeah, and and of course the media has been trying to play that up all week, because that's how they're going to. The CBO is going to prove just how many Americans are going to get knocked off the insurance rolls by the repeal and replacement plan of Donald Trump. And so, you got to have those numbers out there. It doesn't matter if they're relevant. See, that you got to keep these things in perspective, folks. It doesn't matter if the CBO's numbers are relevant. By the time the analysts get through with it and the narratives are created from it, it's all going to be bad news anyways. It's like the jobs report. It's like, so let's say that the report that just came out, what was it, 235,000 jobs. And within a period of time, I guess from the time that Donald Trump has taken office. So one side wants to play that up. Some of these jobs, they're saying some of these jobs, I think it's particularly in construction, I believe. It might be manufacturing, but I think it's construction. Some of the highest increases in employment since the year 2000.
Yeah, the key word is private sector jobs.
Right, versus public sector, as we talked about last week. And but anyway, the point being is that they're still touting that 4.7 unemployment number, which is totally irrelevant, because that's not the true number. And we've explained a million times in the show why that's not a relevant number, because of the way that they figure that number. Okay, so you can say, 235,000 jobs are created. Okay, that's solid. But to then turn around and equate that into lowering the unemployment rate, that's not. Because the unemployment rate is still probably somewhere in the 8 to 9% range minimum, because we still have a lot of people. I think they said 90 million people still out of work. And, of course, then what? Numbers like the CBO are used to skew that. Oh, well, the reason we have 90 million people out of work is because 45 million people decided not to work anymore. Okay? They're either retired or they just decided not to look. Well, that doesn't mean that that's a viable number. Okay, so we say 45 million just aren't looking for work anymore, whether it's through retirement or just fed up and not being able to find anything. And also, what do? We just discard those numbers. It doesn't make it. Those 45 million people don't really exist when it comes to talking about unemployment numbers and the unemployment rate. So how can you tell me that you got a 4.7 unemployment rate if you're just going to discard 45 million people out of the 90 million that aren't working? It doesn't make any sense. You just pick and choose. You cherry pick what numbers you want to fit whatever narrative you're going with out there. And as Joe pointed out, you go to somebody like the CBO, who can only use the information that they've been given. And don't tell me for 1 minute that Barack Obama didn't skew the hell out of his information that he gave them. This guy's telling us everybody in the country's insured now because of Obamacare, and everybody's happy with it. And we know that's not the case. That the exchanges are working great, although more than half of them have shut down. And you got several more that are on the verge of shutting down. California out here, believe it or not, California has decided to open up their own exchanges. They're kind of bypassing the whole thing because they know it's getting ready to crash and burn out here. So I don't know how they're going to pay for that, but I guess we'll have another bond measure for the kids next year. But
yeah. And like that won't ever get overruled by the courts.
Yeah. So
and that's what I heard on some program today. Yeah, we could just have a bond measure and have all this go back to the states and have the states do it. Have a referendum done by the individual states. And I'm like thinking, yeah, and these courts just do what they want anyway. I don't know how many referendums I've seen get overturned by the courts. Unelected bureaucrats sitting in little black robes who say, I don't care what the people just said. We're going to do what we want from the bench.
Yeah, because the people don't understand what's going on. And these judges that are adjudicating, this in and of itself is becoming another false narrative. What about all weekend I heard about this one judge, U.S. attorney, that out of the 46 that Jeff Sessions told to retire, you guys either resign or we fire you. Okay, I guess one of them decided he didn't want to resign, so he got fired.
Yeah, see ya.
And so he's coming out about, well, Trump told me I could keep my job. And so the left all over the weekend, I kept flashing back and forth during the weekend, CNN, MSNBC, always out there talking about this one attorney and how bad it is that he was fired. And I'm thinking, well, what about the 95 U.S. attorneys Bill Clinton fired?
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
president replaces people. But nobody wants, even when they see, it's kind of like the false narrative about the information we have is unverified, but we're going to tell you anyway, okay? Because that's the responsibility of the news department, is to tell you what the news is, whether we can verify it or not, whether it's real or not. It is the news because it's what's being talked about. And it's the same thing with these U.S. attorneys. Every president has done that. Every president has replaced their attorneys throughout the country.
Yeah, well, Clinton, not only did Clinton fire these U.S. attorneys, one of them happened to be the sitting attorney general right now, Jeff Sessions.
Yeah. So it's I don't know how many Obama let go when he came in office, but I know it's more than 46 that Sessions let go, and I know that the number that I saw on Bill Clinton was over 90.
My only question is, what took you so long, Donald?
Yeah, it's kind of like, and aren't you kind of really, in all reality, maybe starting at the wrong end of the timeline here? Maybe start within your own little bureaucracies. How about cleaning out the State Department and the Treasury Department and the Department of Justice? How about doing something about the intelligence agencies? Yeah, we're stuck with James Comey for another 6 years, as he promptly informed everybody last week. But, if I was Donald Trump, I'd say, yeah, James, but you're stuck with me, too. And let's do something about this. But it's all of a sudden it's a big deal. Why? Because it's Donald Trump. It's not because of any other reason. Trump has to be discredited on everything that he does. That's why we hear the stories about Kellyanne Conway with her knees on the couch, for crying out loud. These things that Sean Spicer, the big story last week, Sean Spicer had his flag lapel pin upside down. I'm like, I couldn't believe how many stories I saw on that. Oh, Sean Spicer, in the middle of the conference, I guess he noticed it, and he reached down and he flipped it over, and everybody, the United States sign of distress, ha ha ha, I'm like, Jesus. Is this the best you guys can do?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. The worst part about this is the unintended consequences, or it could be just completely intended consequences of the Republican establishment doing what they're doing right now with this health care and just absolutely jeopardizing this nation once and for all to go under basic, will just be European socialism, because that's where we're heading. Yeah. Because if they screw around with this, the midterms will go to the Democrats. 2020 will go to the Democrats, and they will have both houses of Congress and the White House once again and say good night.
Yeah. I guess we can only hope. Again, the last pillar of support that we have is that maybe between now and 2020 we get a couple more judges in the Supreme Court, and at least maybe we can hold them off again. But I agree. If the GOP continues going the way they're going, if repeal and replace becomes Donald Trump's legacy and his what's the word I'm thinking of? What's the word they use with Obama? His it's like his key legislation. They got a phrase they use for it. I can't think of it right now.
His signature domestic health care initiative.
If this becomes Donald Trump's signature legislation, it's over.
Yeah, and that's what these idiots don't get. Look, right now, the Democrats own it lock, stock, and barrel. The minute they do this, they got their names and hands all over it. It's over. It's absolutely over. They need to get rid of Obama's Obamacare. And if you want to put your name on something, make damn sure it's something that doesn't have anything that Obama had his name on.
I caught part of Chris Wallace's show yesterday. I'm glad you said that, because he had a panel on there, and I don't remember who the panel was. One of the people on the panel, I said, I don't pay real attention to these guys, but if I'm channel surfing and I see them, I'll stop for a few minutes and listen. And they were discussing this Obamacare thing, and I forget who he was talking to. He was talking to some representative on the left. I never saw the guy before, but he said to Chris Wallace, "You guys own healthcare reform now. It is yours. You own it. And you own everything that's going to happen because of it." And I'm just sitting there shaking my head going, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. We're on the verge of another catastrophic piece of legislation that is going to do absolutely nothing but create another quagmire and logjam. And I don't even think the healthcare industries are going to be happy about this, because at least with Obamacare, they had some kind of teat to suck on. Now, I don't know. The
healthcare industry is going to get taken care of. I mean, any quote unquote fines, they were called fines now because the IRS is going to get the money. Now the fines are going to go to the healthcare companies. So, they're going to get taken care of. But everybody else gets hurt. The American people get hurt because the government won't get the hell out of our health care. That's the idea. And these morons cannot figure that out. It's like, what is wrong with you? Get out of the health care business.
Well,
from the government, I'm here to help, is frightening. And it's scary, and it ought to be, because it's been proven to be.
I've thought about this, Joe. I have come to the conclusion, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I was talking earlier about whether or not Republicans are as dumb or as stupid as liberals. We already determined they're as corrupt and as inept, but when we come to intelligence, I always kind of tried to give the GOP a little bit more credit, probably because I was a member of the party for so many years. But one thing that is really sticking out to me about this whole thing is that I don't think the Republicans really care if the healthcare industry implodes, because the bottom line is that it always comes down to, we're in office whether we win or lose. I keep going back to that old fishism. I call it fishism. There was an old show on a while back, Ollie McBeal, and I remember the guy, I don't remember his name, his first name, but his last name was Fish. He was the attorney that ran the firm, and he kept saying, we litigate, and whether we win or lose is irrelevant because we get paid to litigate. And that's how I see the Republican Party now. We don't care if we win or lose because We're paid to show up here and do whatever we do the way we do it, and what
and
is the reason?
Keep sending us back.
Yeah, and it doesn't really make any difference. They're not really concerned about it any more than Democrats are. We got to go to a break. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Now, just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573. 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573. 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
That America must put its own citizens first, because only then can we truly make America great again.
Am I not speaking English? The Conservative Syndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. You know, what were we talking about before the break, Joe? I got distracted here on the break. We were talking about the ineptness of the Republican Party. A common theme, all right. And I just, how I know I was mentioning earlier how every little minor thing gets turned into a major thing. And it caught my eye here during the break here. I was just kind of looking through some stuff as I do during the break. And the big news story today, I mentioned last week that the story was about Sean Spicer's lapel pin upside down. The big story today is that Sean Spicer was confronted by a woman at an Apple store, and she recorded a conversation with him and apparently was very verbally abusive to him, calling Donald Trump a fascist, and asked Spicer if he was a criminal and all this other stuff. And she couldn't understand why he was so upset with her. But the video, apparently, I haven't looked at the video. I'm just relaying to you real quick here, just because this is how it works, guys. This is how it works. We've got major things going on right now, and everything is focused on the nothings, the nothing burgers. The woman's out there, harassing him, basically. And the video, he says he remains calm, and I guess his parting shot to her was, well, you're lucky to be a citizen of this country, or something like that. She took that to be a racist comment.
Well, no. What she doesn't understand is she really doesn't understand what a fascist is, because if she was in another country, she'd be in jail, if not dead.
Yeah. And even she would have been apprehended right there on the spot for even approaching him.
Yes, yes. That's what these people don't understand. They're out there calling everybody a fascist because they don't agree with them. That doesn't make them a fascist. It just makes them. They just don't agree with you, or don't have the same opinion as you, or the same facts that you're reading from. But that doesn't make them a fascist. You know who the fascists are? The people that are calling everybody else fascists.
Yeah, well, it's just Spicer said to her, "This is such a great country that allows you to be here." She took that as meaning that it was a race. It was how dare him question whether I'm a citizen or not?
Jeez.
Like, if somebody comes up to me in the store and wants to confront me, I remember one time out in the parking lot, I had a bumper sticker on my car. I forget what it was, but it was intentionally provocative, and it was the reason I put it out there. And some guy walks by me in the parking lot one day, and he just looks at it and he goes, "Oh, that's just disgusting." And I go, "What's disgusting?" He said, that your bumper sticker. And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" Trying to get the guy to engage. And just the guy just goes into this tirade, the typical progressive tirade about how intolerant Republicans are, blah, 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 blah. And I'm trying to be nice because I entertained him. I was the one that asked the question. So therefore, you got to stand there and take the heat. But my wife knew that I was getting pissed. And she started tugging on my shirt like, come on. And I just remember going, no, let the ass hat continue. And I was like just so ready to just throttle this guy, it's just, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, And so, what did she expect? These people don't truly understand what fascism is.
No, they don't. They don't, because if if Donald Trump was fascist, the media would have already been executed.
Yes, you'd already be, if not in prison, dead.
Yeah. He would have already seized control of the media, already put a czar over it, already decided, you know what, the media is the enemy of the people, therefore I'm taking over, that kind of thing. And the fact that they'll, I don't know, I got to give the guy kudos to stand there in a public square, unprotected, and just have to listen to somebody like this spout their mouth off, who probably has no clue what it is she's talking about. So anyway. Anyhow, let me get back to my conversation here. Let's do this. Let's get into this conversation that I kind of wanted to spend the day on anyway, so we might as well breach it here. Everything that we were talking about up to this point is really about the ongoing narrative here that Donald Trump, one, is inept. 2, he's in over his head. 3, he doesn't understand anything that's going on out here. 4, he doesn't know how to run the country. And 5, he's got all these conflicts of interest out there that he's really in cahoots with the Russians, and whether it be financial or ideological, whatever, he has an affinity. I think that's the word I hear the most from the media. Excuse me. He has an affinity for Russia. He likes Vladimir Putin, and therefore he should be considered a threat to the existence of the United States of America. Now, completely forgetting that Barack Obama wanted to make peace with the Russians. Hillary Clinton wanted to reset the button with the Russians. Barack Obama told a Russian diplomat, after the 2012 election, I'll have more flexibility. Hillary Clinton tried to do, she tried to build some kind of relationship with Russia. Couldn't do it because apparently Vladimir Putin thinks she's a witch. But the point being is that all this stuff came up about about the middle of the 2016 election cycle. We started hearing these reverberations about Russian interference in the election. And it has grown from them being initially accused of being the ones that hacked the DNC server and hacking John Podesta's emails, even though John Podesta's emails were not hacked. They were phished, and they were phished by somebody at WikiLeaks. So this is now grown into this massive narrative that we basically have a communist in the White House, completely forgetting about the fact that Obama was a Marxist socialist communist, and his ideologies and his policies and agenda were no secret to anybody that had just a little bit of understanding about how these things work, about how the principles behind these ideologies. So, but it's a big deal because Trump's in the White House, and now what they're trying to do is make all these ties, all these business ties. What it is Donald Trump's own version of pay for play. Hillary Clinton did do the Clinton Foundation. Donald Trump's going to do it through the White House. Okay, that's the narrative.
That's funny, because if Hillary Clinton got elected, guess what she would actually be doing through the White House?
Yeah, you don't think for 1 minute that one of the things she'd be doing is trying to cover any tracks of her dealings with Russian entities out there that were contributing to the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation would
$35 million.
Yeah, and the Clinton Foundation would still be up and running. By the way, folks, it would still be out there. It would be probably taken in 10 times as much as it took in during her years as Secretary of State and during her candidacy. So, but all that's irrelevant. And the reason why it's irrelevant, this is the catch-all to this. It really comes down to one specific event during the course of everything that took place from the middle of last year to present. It is the existence of a dossier that was written up by a retired MI6 British agent who now had his own security firm, who had been hired by the DNC to dig up trash on Trump, and then it was discarded, but it was picked up again by none other than some Republican operative. My book, finger goes directly to somebody like John McCain or Lindsey Graham. And this MI6 agent turned up a dossier, created a dossier, and was given to Barack Obama just about a month before the actual election. And then Trump was notified of this dossier. Up until this point, everything had been pretty much the WikiLeaks thing. The Podesta WikiLeaks was going strong. Hillary Clinton's server problems was going strong. We had the hearings. We had investigations. They had all that stuff going on. And all they could do was basically speculate. You'll remember in June of last year, Nancy Pelosi was the first one to trot out this idea that John Podesta's emails might have been altered by Russian hackers. They were the ones that hacked the emails of John Podesta, and that they could have altered some of the content of those emails, and therefore we should not give any credibility to anything that's going to be reported now, henceforth. All right? Now, this dossier set off to the side for one reason only. Nobody could verify anything that was in it. Nobody wanted to touch it because it was unverifiable. It was written by a retired MI6 agent who said he had contacts within the Russian government, and everything was speculation. They could not verify anything. And so it was pushed off to the side. Then all of a sudden, right around October, I remember this, we start hearing stories about this Russian dossier. And I think when it really came to the forefront was when Jake Tapper at CNN reported that this dossier existed. Of course, confirming that it was unverified, but because we know it exists, we should report to you that it exists. We don't know whether or not it's true. Nothing's been verified. In fact, it's been sitting on a shelf for months because nobody can verify anything. But we just feel the need that you, the general public, need to know that it's out there. In that dossier are allegations that Donald Trump had a secret server that was contacting or being pinged by Russian Alpha Bank, which has ties to Vladimir Putin. This was the last-ditch effort to try to tie Trump to Russia, was this existence of a server that apparently some security people that were in the security business, had indicators that there was unusual traffic going between a Trump server and the Alpha Bank over in Russia. And because of that, it needed to be investigated. It has never really been investigated as far as we know, but the blow-up of all this is now, and then remember Barack Obama was asked, Joe Biden relayed this information to the public. Barack Obama made the statement, he wanted to know what this dossier was even here for. It was junk. He himself said, what are we even looking at this for? Well, because it exists. They wanted to let you know that it exists. And then they notified Donald Trump shortly after that this thing existed. So Barack Obama originally tried to play it off. He tried to blow it off. It was just junk. Not so. Because that dossier and that allegation about this tie to Alpha Bank over in Russia is what has created the entire narrative as it stands today. That Donald Trump had dealings with Russia that were economically advantageous to him to some degree or another. We got to go to break. When we come back, I'll try to put a little more context in that. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. The ConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
My job is not to represent the world. My job is to represent the United States of America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right, we're back. Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I want to try to get into a couple of clips here. If you were listening before the break here, this is basically what I want to try to establish today. I want to focus more on just a chronological timeline. And maybe tomorrow we can expand on motives and everything. And I like to say it this way. You know, you go to other shows, other talk shows out there, and a lot of them will just tell you who, what, and where, who's involved, what happened, and where it occurred. We try to go beyond that. We want to tell you the how and why. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I want to set up a chronology as to how this all has come to the point it's come to right now, and continue to feed this false narrative about Trump ties to Russia for self-interest. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't know that Trump doesn't have some business interest in Russia. I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is that anything that he's been accused of has not been documented, has not been proven, and therefore everything is just speculation, innuendo, and accusations. Things that Barack Obama said, we don't work that way. We don't publish the news. We don't speak on things that we don't know anything about, don't have facts to put behind them. All right. Now, so what I'm looking at here is from the time it was reported that the DNC had been hacked. And by the way, previous to that, at least I think a year before, the State Department had been hacked. I think I'm accurate in the timeline. Am I, Joe? Somewhere. The State Department had been hacked before the DNC.
Well, Hillary Clinton had been hacked for years before.
Yeah. Well, I know that the State Department at one time had actually reported, and I think it was in 2015.
Well, I'm just talking about the time when she was running the damn thing, the State Department itself. I mean, she was hacked. I mean, for these people to come out with this is all just so much scream and just to scream. They have absolute. It's like I'm going to scream, so you look over here to distract you from other things that are really important.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I feel it's so important that let's put a chronological context behind the allegations. This is what's being alleged, not what's been proven, but what's being alleged. And sometime in January 2016, the DNC was hacked. Apparently, Barack Obama claims that it was in the summer of 2016 that he was notified that the DNC had been hacked. At the same time, shortly thereafter, John Podesta's emails were released by WikiLeaks. So these are the things that kind of happened in a very short frame of time. Because immediately after they initially reported that the DNC had been hacked, the Podesta emails came out. Nancy Pelosi floated her damage control report. We can't trust what's in them because the Russians are the ones that did it. And from there, it kind of went dormant for a while until around October when everybody realized that Donald Trump could actually win. Then all of a sudden, Barack Obama became interested or concerned about what Russia did or didn't do in terms of hacking the DNC and how much, if anything, were they involved in the release of John Podesta's emails and all of a sudden, the dossier that came out, all this stuff that started floating out there. In December 16th, Barack Obama holds a press conference just before going on vacation. And at this time, he had called for a report. I want a report at my desk by the time I get back that confirms what we already believe. That's really what he wanted. I want a confirmation of what we already believe, and that is the Russians were behind the hacking of the DNC and thus gave that information to WikiLeaks, and that's how all this stuff came to fruition. That's how it came out. First clip I'm going to play you here is the opening response to Obama when he's asked by a reporter to clear up this whole thing about the Russian involvement in the election of 2016. So, Joe, if you got that queued up, let's play that.
With respect to how this thing unfolded last year, let's just go through the facts pretty quickly. At the beginning of the summer, we're alerted to the possibility that the DNC has been hacked. And I immediately order law enforcement, as well as our intelligence teams, to find out everything about it, investigate it thoroughly, to brief the potential victims of this hacking, to brief on a bipartisan basis the leaders of both the House and the Senate and the relevant intelligence committees. And once we had clarity and certainty around what in fact had happened, we publicly announced that, in fact, Russia had hacked into the DNC.
Gee, I just missed the way he pauses between every single thought.
Yeah, when one doesn't have one a teleprompter to guide one in his orchestrated response, that's what happens.
Yeah, gee, I never knew how much that I wouldn't miss that.
And now compare him, just compare him to Donald Trump when Donald Trump seldom uses a teleprompter. And, Donald Trump isn't the most articulate person. I don't, he doesn't use grandiose language or anything. But you have no problem understanding that what he's saying, he is saying directly because he believes it. See, when you can talk quickly, and even though it may not be articulate like me, I know for a fact sometimes my word selection is not proper, okay? But you know what I'm saying. And I don't have to sit here and practice or rehearse it. I have my notes every day, but everything that I say is off the cuff, and I know Joe's the same way. So when you really believe what you're talking about, you don't have to stand there and, So
to recap what former President Obama, I just like saying that too. Let's just recap. He said, well, we looked at it and then we were going to come out with it once we found out that it could be verified that we were going to come out with it, and we found there was a reason to come out for it. So we're going to give you some more BS here in just a little bit.
Yeah. We got to go to a break here. We're at the bottom or top of the hour here. We got the Edwards Notebook. We'll pay some bills, and then we'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Oh, my goodness. So the statist Republicans trotted out Obamacare Light. I feel it is yet another insult to the American people. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, So now we, the people, are possibly being forced to wait indefinitely before there will be any serious tax cuts because the powers that be decided not to cut one single tax until after Obamacare is replaced. One of the excuses used to drag the process out is certain Senate procedure rules. And also, if Obamacare is totally brought up for a vote, then the progressives like Chucky Schumer will filibuster and prevent any progress. To that I say bunk. Because if they would have done a better job of defending the medical marketplace when Ali Obama was foisting his socialist health-damaging system upon us, perhaps the dilemma they now refer to wouldn't be occurring now. So basically, this drip, drip, drip approach will do little to relieve the burden now faced by the average American who has to endure it, unlike Congress and President Trump, who enjoy a far superior form of health care. Meanwhile, this Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 approach kicks needed tax reductions further down the road. Those midterm elections will be very interesting, to say the least. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
Middle America doesn't have an anger problem. It's got an idiot problem. The Conservative Syndicate, doing our part to eradicate the disease of idiocracy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Hey, we're back. Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. Hey, before we get back into our discussion here about the Russian hacking thing, like I said, I want to try to establish in our minds, and so that we can keep in the forefront as this thing goes down the line, the chronological order of things and how everything has, quote-unquote, evolved into the narrative that it is today. And I would just want to interrupt this just for a moment here, because Joe had mentioned last hour about Paul Ryan coming out and saying that the CBO's numbers that they're reporting today about the number of people that would lose coverage under Obamacare is an open window, something to work with. How did you phrase that, Joe? It was...
I think Ryan put it as it gives us some room to work with.
Okay, gives us some room to work with. Now, I'm looking right here at the International Business Times, the first people to come out with an article here on this. The CBO estimated the American Health Care Act, the bill proposed by House Republicans to repeal and replace the American Care Act, also known as Obamacare.
Yeah, the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, well, they misquoted there. I think somebody just copy and pasted, because they estimated the American Health Care Act will repeal and replace the American Health Care Act. So somebody, these people don't edit their stuff anymore, but we're talking about the
and if you were a marketeering, it tells you how screwed up the Republicans are.
Yeah. So the American Health Care Act is going to replace the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as we know it. And it's going to result in 14 million Americans losing their insurance in 2018. All right, now, here's the catch, guys, and this is what you're not going to hear. All right? The report noted that most of that number would be the result of the repeal of Obamacare's individual mandate, which is the requirement under current law that Americans purchase health insurance or face a fine. So people that have been forced to buy it, they're saying the number in the neighborhood of 14 million of these people have been forced to buy Obamacare and probably will not buy it now because they don't because the mandate has been removed. Now, how does that equate? Now, again, this is like the jobs number stuff. So we're going to throw that 14 million that have chosen not to keep Obamacare, we're going to throw them in the number of people uninsured in America column. Why? Because it makes the number look bigger. The narrative is going to be trotted out there, as they're saying here. The Republicans, Nancy Pelosi, just came out in a press conference and said, we're going to have 24 million people are going to lose their health insurance by 2026. She's not even saying 2026. She's saying 24 million people are going to lose their health care because of this replacement plan. Okay? Not 24 million people are going to lose this by 2026. How do they come up with that number? CBO says 14 million will leave by the time 14 million will leave by 2018 because they don't like the mandate. They're not going to buy insurance because they're being mandated now. They don't want to. How does that grow or swell to 24 million people in 2026? I'll tell you how. They project how many people in 2026 aren't going to buy insurance because it's not being mandated. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Joe?
It's all just make-believe.
They're projecting. They're saying we got 14 million that are going to drop out in the next couple of years. You've got other people coming up the ranks. People coming up in age by 2026 will be old enough to purchase health care insurance. And they're saying what they're basically doing is they're projecting another 10 million will be in the market but not purchasing anything because they're not being mandated to purchase anything. Therefore, they will join the uninsured rolls. This is how they come up with these numbers. I'm throwing these numbers out there just so you and our audience can understand. This is where they draw stuff from. They project. The Republicans they're projecting that down the road here, they're going to be able to phase out Medicaid expansion. Because by removing the borders, they're going to have more people getting insured, and therefore the risk pool is going to be raised up, and it's going to drive the cost. This projections. It's speculation. The Democrats are now telling us in the next 2 years, 14 million people are going to lose health care coverage. No, they're going to give up health care coverage. And then another 10 million between now and 2026 aren't going to buy it because they don't feel like they need it. So because there's no mandate, this is the argument. The Democrats, they're not telling you this. They're not saying it's because of the mandate. They're just saying people aren't going to have it. And so they have this astronomical number now. We're going to be right back to 30, 35, 40 million people uninsured. All right? So just understand the game here, guys. It's just constantly skewing the numbers to fit the narrative. All right? We got to go to our quick break here. Or our long break here. It's a quick segment here. Long break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You're listening to the Strident Conservative. No rhinos allowed.
Hello, America. This is David Leach, the Strident Conservative. If the Ryan Trump replacement for Obamacare shows us anything, it's this. The Republican Party is full of lying liars telling lies in order to deceive Republicans and conservatives. No, they are not the same, into supporting them with their money and their votes every 2 years. This is one of the reasons I believe the GOP no longer stands for grand old party. Instead, it stands for gutless on principles. You'll even find a GOP Hall of Shame on my website recognizing these charlatans as the frauds they are. One such charlatan is Orrin Hatch of Utah, who at 78 years old at the time was reelected in 2012 to the U.S. Senate after already becoming the longest-serving senator from Utah at 36 years. Facing a primary challenge, Hatch promised to retire in 2018 to complete a 42-year career as a so-called conservative at the ripe old age of 84. Besides the fact that the words career and U.S. senator should never be mentioned in the same sentence, Hatch has proven his gutlessness when it comes to principles with an announcement that he will seek another term in 2018. This development is bad news for two reasons. One, no so-called public servant should be suckling at the government teat for that long. And two, it comes after a noticeable anti-conservative shift in Congress and the White House. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan have been targeting conservatives for elimination for some time now, seeing them as a threat to their positions of power. And Donald Trump has openly expressed his anti-conservative sentiments during his campaign as well as since winning the election. This was recently put on display when he warned conservatives that if they failed to support Ryan Care/Trump Care, that he would actively primary against them in their re-election. Orrin Hatch's decision to run again is proof that conservatism remains a target by Washington power brokers. It also proves that there will be no draining of the swamp unless we the people take back our government. If you have a comment on this topic, visit stridentconservative.com.
Hey folks, John Matthews here from the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. The debate regarding who should be accredited with defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results lends to its own insanity. Whether Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, or Rita Mae Brown coined the adage or not, its meaning is as true as the fact the sun will rise and set tomorrow. In much the same fashion, citizens across our great republic today are debating whether or not it is time to change course regarding the accepted established norms of our political system. Is it time to create a new party or continue to expect different results after electing the same people keeping our current system? Partisanship, corruption, and a desire to maintain power for the sake of power by those we elect, reinforced by decades of empty promises trotted out each election cycle but never fulfilled, has left America frustrated, angry, and rebellious to degrees not seen since the Civil War. The only viable solution is to quit adhering to the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is why the Conservative Party USA exists. The Conservative Party USA arose during the Tea Party Rebellion in 2010. It seeks to rectify the insanity that defines the consistent failures and corruption of the current two-party system by nominating and supporting candidates who are committed to imposing the conservative principles of fiscal discipline, restraining the reach of the federal government as outlined in the Constitution, and defending America's traditional family values. If you're tired of witnessing the insanity that dominates our political system, check us out at conservativepartyusa.org. That's conservativepartyusa.org.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Am I not speaking English? TheConservativeSyndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
Oh, yeah, I am here. I am so sorry. Joe did the right thing there. Continue to play the music here. I had turned my mic off. I had some noise in the background here outside my studio here, and I turned it off so you wouldn't pick it up, and I forgot to turn it back on. I'm sitting here carrying on one hell of a conversation. I just want to reiterate that you're going to hear more about this Conservative Party USA. I've decided to take a leadership position out here in California to help promote this party and get it on the map. And they are already affiliated in several states out here in the United States as a viable party, but they're still working to try to get into all 57 states here. And I'm going to do my part to try to get California on the map here. I think they have right now somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 people out here in California that are registered with the Conservative Party, but we're not listed on the list of viable parties here in California. So we're going through that process. So you're going to hear a lot from me, no matter where you're at in the United States. Look up our website, the Conservative Party USA, and check it out. I think it's going to be, I've held off doing this for quite a while because somewhere in the back of my mind, I keep getting the feedback from my fellow colleagues out there, fellow Republicans, that a third party or another party. We have more than two parties, by the way, if you don't know that. But another viable party is going to be pretty difficult, and therefore we should try to reform the Republican Party. And I say hogwash. That hogwash. We're way beyond ever hoping that the Republican Party returns to its Republican roots. This is not the party of Lincoln. It's not the party of Reagan. This is more like the party of who God knows who. This is the party of John McCain and Lindsey Graham. And that is in any way, shape, or form. In fact, why aren't, Joe, just let me throw this out real quick here before we get it back into our discussion. How come nobody has called for an investigation on the sanity of John McCain and Lindsey Graham? I mean, these two guys are about as wacky. I think Nancy Pelosi sometimes sound more sane than they do.
They're just walking endorsements for why we need to repeal the 17th Amendment.
Yeah, I know. Over the weekend, I was asked by somebody in a group that I joined called Quora. It's kind of an interesting group. And I was asked by somebody just that question. I was asked, why is it that the people like the John McCains and the Lindsey Grahams, how are they able to do what they do? How are they able to get away with it? And it's just, it just feeds this whole thing. And my gut check just tells me the Republican Party's dead. It's dead. And
well, that's all the more reason why you should never, ever give the party any money, because all they do with that money, the National Senate, congressional committees, and et cetera, and the like, don't give them money, because all they're going to do is put it in the coffers to re-elect incumbents. And at a 98% re-election rate, that's insanity on its own. You're not going to get rid of these people that way. The only way you're going to get rid of them is to have other people run. But hence the reason why I'd like to have the Convention of States work up so we can get a constitutional amendment to term limit these bastards, so they can't go back up there, as our strident conservative friend has put out there, have frickin' Orrin Hatch up there for 40-some flipping years in the United States Senate. That's ridiculous. And we've had Democrat senators do the same thing. This is not what it was meant to be when our nation was founded. We had a Senate that was elected according to the state legislatures until that great progressive leader of the Democrat Party in the early 1900s, Woodrow Wilson, said we should probably have the will of the people speak, and we must let the public elect our senators.
You're absolutely spot on here. It's that, if we repeal the 17th Amendment, and we put the election or the selection, not the election, but the selection of senators based on state legislators. The legislators are elected by the people. Therefore, the legislators representing the people will select senators that represent the people.
Yeah, of that state. Not people living in K Street, Washington, D.C., who happen to have a lot of money, who put that right back into their re-election campaigns.
Yeah, so what that would in and of itself create term limits. Think about it. If a state legislator changes, what do? You would change your senators. And so we wouldn't have to worry about re-elections. We'd have to be concerned with reselection, but that would be indicative or representative of a particular state. If your state majority shifts from Democrat to Republican or back, and then that means that the senators would also switch, then you don't have to worry about term limits. And you would always
like this. If you think you're being represented by the government that's sitting over in Washington, D.C. right now, you're out of your mind. Because those people aren't representing you whatsoever. Those people are ignoring everything that was done this past November. This past November was a definite mandate, and you can see right now the first 2.5 months of this year alone, how far away from what was done in November is happening in D.C.
Yep, exactly. Now, as I mentioned, I was asked over the weekend, and this Quora that I'm a member of, I get a kick out of it because most of the questions are being put out there by liberals, and they're asking the questions kind of like to defend their talking points, but they're doing it with a question. Well, what's wrong with thinking this way, or what's wrong with doing this? Somebody put a question out, sent it to me, said, "How would you restructure the United States?" Okay, let me share this answer here. I know we're off track here, but just be patient with me. It fits what we're talking about. Just hang with me here. I said, I would not restructure the United States of America. What I would do is reform it. The first thing I would do is abolish the IRS, the Department of Education, Environmental Protection Agency, and Department of Energy, and return all this money back to the states. Taxes to run the Fed would come through a national sales tax. Also, I would ask for a constitutional amendment that required a balanced budget. I would repeal Obamacare and direct the tax dollars back to states, letting them set up their health care programs through the ballot. I would repeal the 17th Amendment and return to senators being selected by state legislators who represent their respective states. This would remove any need for term limits for senators, as they would change based on the makeup of each state's assembly, reflected by the vote of the people. I would ask for an amendment for term limits in the House of Representatives to 1 4-year term. I would also remove the practice of running presidents and vice presidents on party tickets, and I would change their terms to 1 6-year term. I think Joe came up with that, but it stuck with me. So Joe's part of this. He's part of his. What's in here is some of the things we've discussed here. We originally selected our executive branch heads as the top 2 electoral college recipients. For instance, George Washington and John Adams were of different parties or different ideological trends, but they won the 1 and 2 electoral college, and therefore they were president and vice president. I would return to that. I think it's an additional check and balance. And then I would make it easier to recall Supreme Court justices who violated their oath to rule or to determine by the Constitution rather than adjudicate from the bench. That would be my major plan, my overall plan, not to restructure the United States, but to reform, to return it to its original constitutionality. That's how you do this kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'd ever be able to pull it off given what's out there, but that's what a conservative looks like. That's what a conservative thinks. That's what a conservative sounds like. You take any of the things I just said, and you will find nobody in the Republican or the Democrat Party that thinks like this. Including,
no way. There's no way you're going to find that because those people are too worried about getting reelected and how they can stay in power. Now, did you get a response from that?
I haven't. Let's see here. Let me look and see. I don't know if I have or not.
Because I'd be curious to see if you got a response from that. Because it's probably it just blew up their mind, like that commercial where these people look at something and their heads explode and this purple dust comes out of their head. It's probably what happened to that individual.
Well, I probably have to spend some time looking through it because the way these things come at you, there's not really, your stuff is shown, but I'd have to trace through the site to see if anybody else has answered or responded. I know one guy responded, and you could tell he was a liberal. Abolish the Electoral College and get rid of the past voting systems. Doesn't say what they would do, just that it would increase voting rates. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like they did in Russia. Everybody votes in Russia.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Whether you actually did or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. Okay. All right. So I've kind of rambled on here, but I just think this stuff's important. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel right now. It's the way I process things. Let's go back. Let's go back here. We got about 2 minutes here. Let's just do this. Refresh, of course, the clip that we played before the last hour ended, and then we'll go from there. Last hour we played, the first clip was Barack Obama letting the press know that in the summer of 2016, they had been notified that the DNC had been hacked, and that at that point in time, they decided to not really say anything until they determined through intelligence sources, a consensus among the intelligence community that indeed the DNC had been hacked and it had been done by Russian operatives. And as I said, at that same time, Nancy Pelosi was already trotting that narrative out. That's an important point to remember here, because as Obama goes on in his explanation, he completely disregards that. He says something completely different, and I want you to know that right now. So you'll catch it. You'll catch it when you hear it. And so it was like, okay, we determined the DNC was hacked, and then we ascertained through intelligence consensus Russia was responsible. And it also bears noting that at the same time, right around the same time this summer, this is shortly after the WikiLeaks dump of John Podesta's emails. This all occurred within a couple of weeks.
Remember one thing here, John. While Obama is saying this, he's got his intelligence agency heads in front of Congress going, we have no evidence that the Russians did anything.
Right, yeah, and that's kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse, but that's where we're going to end up in this narrative. You're gonna hear this as we go down the line here. We got to go to break. When we get back, we'll get into this, and we'll knock out these clips here before the end of the show here. I think we'll be able to do that. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Now, just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Okay, hey, we're back right here at the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. Yes, my friends, if you're getting wasted every night, you may need help. I'm sorry, had to point that out. No shot at the advertisers, but I think it's a little bit more than may need, okay? That's like saying, if you're a liberal, you may need help. All right. All right, let's get back to our... I'm sorry, that just hit me really funny. I don't know. All right, we're talking about this, the narrative, the evolution of the Trump-Russia narrative. The ties, Russia apparently was elected to office because of the dealings that he had with Donald Trump, and there's got to be something going on. They've got to be in cahoots somewhere, whether it's world dominance or just both of them making the list of the most wealthy men in the world, whatever it is, the Forbes 500 or whatever. Although Trump, I know, is already on that list. I would imagine Vladimir Putin's on that list somewhere too, although it's probably not allowed to be published.
Yeah, his is probably more like a pirate that has stolen all of the money.
Yeah.
If you find out about it, if you even knew about it, you'd end up dead.
Yeah, well, I do know that he's rather wealthy. And I can see
he's got a lot of gold sitting in St. Petersburg. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and who knows how many interests he holds in Uranium One too. So
that too. Yes, exactly.
So anyway, we're back. A quick recap. We'll get into our next clip here. The clip we played first was Obama explaining the initial discovery of the DNC hacking back in 2016. That they then later ascertained that it was the Russians, and as soon as they found out, they made it public. They announced to everybody, they announced to the DNC, they announced to Congress, they announced to the American people that the DNC had indeed been hacked by Russian operatives. Now, the next thing, Obama goes on, and he says, he tries to explain, what their initial reaction or response was upon finding out upon discovering that the Russians had involved themselves in hacking the DNC, and then tries to explain his reasoning in terms of why they were so slow to react. And you've got to listen real close here. And I'll try to clear it up if you don't catch it. We'll just reiterate to you. But you've got to listen, because what Obama is starting to do here is he's starting to lay out the thought process behind the eventual evolution of what we're facing today. How he initially responded compared to how they evolved on the issue and began to act a few months later. So if you got the clip queued up, Joe, go.
Yeah, I have it. This is a minute and 30 seconds that probably in normal speak should take about 40 seconds. But this is Barack Obama once again. So here we go.
And once we had clarity and certainty around what in fact had happened, we publicly announced that, in fact, Russia had hacked into the DNC. And at that time, we did not attribute motives or any interpretations of why they had done so. We didn't discuss what the effects of it might be. We simply let people know, the public know, just as we had let members of Congress know, that this had happened. And as a consequence, all of you wrote a lot of stories about both what had happened, and then you interpreted why that might have happened and what effect it was going to have on the election outcomes. We did not. And the reason we did not was because in this hyper-partisan atmosphere, at a time when my primary concern was making sure that the integrity of the election process was not in any way damaged, at a time when anything that was said by me or anybody in the White House would immediately be seen through a partisan lens, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood we were playing this thing straight, that we weren't trying to advantage one side or another, but what we were trying to do is let people know that this had taken place.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Here it is, folks. Let me give you the key words of that little blurb right there. Obama tells us that initially there was no discussion as to why the Russians would have wanted to hack into the DNC. Okay? I mean, not that you would really need a discussion on something like that. Why would anybody hack into the DNC? And by the way, let's also remember that they had tried to hack into the RNC. And people don't, they just brush that off. The RNC was not hacked. The DNC was. Why? Because the safeguards existed on the RNC side, and they did not on the DNC side. But that aside, so that right there would tell you, if Russia, again, just playing the devil's advocate, if Russia was the ones hacking the servers of the respective RNC and DNC, the motive would be pretty damn obvious. They want to gather information on what these people were doing in their campaigns. That's a no-brainer. Maybe they were looking for more information to validate what they already had on Hillary Clinton when they hacked her servers when she was over in Russia. But it was if they were doing it, if they were the ones behind it, then it would be pretty self-evident that this was just strictly an effort of espionage. They're trying to break into these servers to find out what they can dig up for whatever political purposes or for whatever reasons they determine. It doesn't matter why they would want it. You would know why they would want it because it works at the intelligence level. So, excuse me. But the key here is that, as I said, you got to listen to how Obama worded this. He says, as a consequence, you in the media took what we reported and you speculated on it and you interpreted it and you began to report on it.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Okay, so what he's basically saying is, I'm not responsible for what you guys did. I just gave you the information. That's the same argument Jake Tapper gave when he first floated out the Trump dossier. Well, we don't have any verification that there's any relevance or any truth to it, but we have the information, so we're giving it to you. You, the American public, need to decide. In this case, Obama's saying, you, the media elites, need to take this and run with it as any way that you want to. And by the way, I'm absent any blame because my motives behind it was not to give the appearance that I was trying to influence anything.
Yeah, and you can run with it any way you want. Run with it, knowing full damn well how they would run with it.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head there, Joe. This is the point. They knew if we put it out this way, the media will do what? They will speculate, they will interpret, and they will report on their assessments of what they find, absent any facts of anything else. We just come out and we say, well, the intelligence community has a consensus that the Russians did this. Okay.
Meanwhile, and on the congressional record, the head of such departments are going, we don't have any evidence of Russia doing this.
Right. So what we have here is understanding also, Nancy Pelosi had already trotted out the idea that the Podesta emails were to be considered incredible. Because why? Because the Russians were the ones behind it, and they would have manipulated the information. Of course, not a single Podesta email has ever been proven to be wrong or manipulated. Everything is fact. Everything that was leaked is truth, is fact.
Would they have been any more credible if the Little Sisters of the Poor had been the ones to go ahead and hack their servers?
I'm sorry?
Would it have been any more credible if the Little Sisters of the Poor hacked the servers?
Right. Okay. Now, he then goes on to say that the media did exactly what he and his administrators had thought they would do. Yep. You took the information, you speculated on it, and then you ran with the stories. So
little Pavlovian puppies that they are.
It allows him to give the appearance that he was not involved in this at all. In fact, when he was the one that initiated it. And that or his administration initiated it. But because he said, I didn't come out and say Russia did it for this reason or for that reason. We didn't know what the motivations were. We didn't even think about it. We didn't discuss it. But we just put it out there. Okay, there you go. That's how you build a narrative. You just put it out there, and then you let people run with it. And there are enough idiotic people. We live in such an idiocracy today that enough people will listen to what is ever being trotted out there without asking questions like, well, why did the thought ever cross your mind that if they were trying to hack both servers, that they were actually trying to infiltrate both election systems in terms of finding intelligence or information that maybe they could use in their intelligence communities?
Well, yeah, use not affect the election, but use after the election on whoever was elected.
Yeah, like the Podesta emails or like Hillary Clinton's servers, her pay-for-play schemes, all these things that we now know exist, and yet still have not confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Russians were behind this. Okay, but the main point you got to keep in your mind here is both servers, RNC, DNC, there were attempted hacks on both of them. The RNC held up, the DNC didn't. So I don't know if that's why Obama just said back and said, well, it doesn't really matter. Hillary's going to win this thing anyways. That's my belief. He said, well, it's not going to really matter. So let's not throw anything out there that the Republicans can use to maybe accuse the Democrats of having somebody trying to hack the RNC server. Not that the Republicans would do it because they don't accuse anybody of anything. Okay, they just sit around on their asses, do nothing. All right, so that's where we're at right now. When we come back now, Obama is now going to reiterate what was happening or what his administration knew the media was going to do with what had been put out there. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Since its founding, America has always been admired and envied throughout the world for its system of government, one that empowers its citizens to seek their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No other country or nation in history has benefited from its diversity simply due to the opportunities available to anyone from anywhere. But there have been and are those who envy our freedom for a very different reason. And today we find ourselves as never before being threatened by this formidable foe intent on our destruction. For this reason, act for America exists. Act for America is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots national security organization with over 300,000 members and 1,000 chapters focused on educating, engaging, and mobilizing citizens and elected officials to impact legislative outcomes to protect America against terrorism both here and abroad. As a result, our network has driven the education process toward the successful passage of 43 bills in 22 states. We continue to expand our nationwide volunteer chapter network, training citizens to recognize and help prevent criminal activity and terrorism in the United States while preserving the civil liberties protected by the United States Constitution. To find out more, check us out at actforamerica.org. That's actforamerica.org.
That America must put its own citizens first, because only then can we truly make America great again.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right. Hey, we're back. We're back at the wheel here. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. Pick up this show, any of our shows. Find out what we do, why we do it, and who we do it with. Theconservativesyndicate.net. All right, let's get back into this because I want to make sure we try to get these clips out this hour, the rest of the show here. Clip number 3 here, Joe, as I know, is queuing up here. What Obama does now is he reiterates that his administration decided to leave it in the hands of the media to determine what happened and why it happened, and then claims that he did not want to assist the hackers by raising the very questions that the media had raised. All right? There's a double whammy for you. So, Joe, you got that clip? Let's go.
Here we go. Come on.
And so if you started seeing effects on the election, if you were trying to measure why this was happening and how you should consume the information that was being leaked, that you might want to take this into account. And that's exactly how we should have handled it. Imagine if we'd done the opposite. It would have become immediately just one more political scrum. And part of the goal here was to make sure that we did not do the work of the leakers for them by raising more and more questions about the integrity of the election right before the election was taking place. At a time, by the way, when the president-elect himself was raising questions about the integrity of the election.
All right. So what we have there is Obama, once again, reiterating that we put the information out there. And he had said, because, and you people, meaning the media, you took it, you speculated, you interpreted, and you began to report on it. And he reiterates that we just felt that that was the best thing to do. And, of course, you people did just what we thought you would do. All right, and you went out there and you ran with it. And you helped create the narrative that we were looking for. Then he turns around and says, well, we didn't want to assist the hackers by raising these questions. No, let's let the media raise the questions. And that alleviates him of any responsibility because he was so damn concerned about being accused of trying to influence the election. Hey, you campaigned with the bitch, all right? you were the one out there flying her on Air Force One on the taxpayer dime. You were the one out, she's the most qualified since Thomas Jefferson. So I think it's kind of moot to be sitting there all of a sudden saying, hey, all of a sudden I was worried about people thinking I was trying to influence the election. What a lame-ass excuse. Okay, let's go to the next one here. He comes up with his final point as to why his administration just sat back and let the media run with this. Go ahead, Joe.
And finally, I think it's worth pointing out that the information was already out. It was in the hands of WikiLeaks, so that was going to come out no matter what. What I was concerned about in particular was making sure that that wasn't compounded by potential hacking that could hamper vote counting, affect the actual election process itself. And so in early September, when I saw President Putin in China, I felt that the most effective way to ensure that that didn't happen was to talk to him directly and tell him to cut it out, and there were going to be some serious consequences if he didn't. And in fact, we did not see further tampering of the election process. But the leaks through WikiLeaks had already occurred. So when I look back in terms of how we handled it, I think we handled it the way it should have been handled. We allowed law enforcement and the intelligence community to do its job without political influence. We briefed all relevant parties involved in terms of what was taking place. When we had a consensus around what had happened, we announced it, not through the White House, not through me, but rather through the intelligence communities that had actually carried out these investigations. And then we allowed you and the American public to make an assessment as to how to weigh that going into the election.
Jeez.
All right. So there we have it. He determined that the best way to handle the situation was to create the narrative by simply just releasing the information, putting it in the hands of the media, letting the media create the narrative, and the American people would then be able to make a decision one way or the other as to just how much the Russians had influenced the outcome of this election. Now, the last clip here, I want to play this because Obama's telling us basically the Russians were behind this, and WikiLeaks, everything came through WikiLeaks. The Russians hacked, gave it to WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks released it. The media was given it, they ran with the narrative, the people decided, and apparently didn't decide the right way because Donald Trump got elected anyways. Now, here's the last shot that Obama lobs at the media on this. Go ahead, Joe, last clip.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Can you, given all the intelligence that we have now heard, assure the public that this was, once and for all, a free and fair election? And specifically on Russia, do you feel any obligation now, as they've been insisting that this isn't the case, to show the proof, as it were? They say, put your money where your mouth is and declassify some of the intelligence, some of the evidence that exists. And more broadly, as it relates to Donald Trump on this very topic.
This is part of what I meant when I said that we've got to think about what's happening to our political culture here. The Russians can't change us or significantly weaken us. They are a smaller country. They are a weaker country. Their economy doesn't produce anything that anybody wants to buy except oil and gas and arms. They don't innovate. But they can impact us if we lose track of who we are. They can impact us if we abandon our values.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Oh, gee, John. That was just thanks for playing that because that's pretty much better than Saturday night. I can tell you that right now. That should just. Thank goodness he's finally gone because this guy was ridiculous. Now let's get back to this. It's all WikiLeaks, right? And what did I see on the Sunday shows is all these WikiLeaks, and then because last week WikiLeaks released some more stuff, right? And it's like, oh, WikiLeaks, oh, they're horrible, and these people are all messed up about WikiLeaks being out there, and they're going, conservatives love WikiLeaks during the election because it was all horrible for Hillary and the Democrats. No, conservatives weren't happy about WikiLeaks. Yeah, they were happy that finally there's reports brought out about Hillary and what she was doing, the illegal activities that she was doing. Yes, that's what conservatives are happy about. Other than that, the conservatives are pissed off because the feckless lapdog media that we have out there wouldn't do their damn job.
No, that's exactly right. That's what we're not angry about the fact that these leaks have gone the way that they've gone, or that WikiLeaks or the Russians or the 400-pound fat guy in his bedroom were the ones that brought it to this public eye. What we're pissed off about is that the revelation of all of this stuff that directly indicts, condemns the entire political system. The Democrats for the corruption and the collusion, the Republicans for the complicity and their collusion through that complicity. This is what we conservatives are upset about. But I just thought it was something.
Complicit media that allows it to continue.
Yeah, and it can and see that. Here's what did the reporter ask the question? Obama didn't even answer the question. The reporter asked the question, are you going to declassify this information so that we know what we've been reporting is true? That's what he was asking. And what did Obama do? He danced off and, wait. We're not talking about the Russians being able to actually do anything.
Yeah, because he knew that the Russians hadn't done anything. His own administration lapdogs were in front of Congress going, the Russians didn't do anything.
Right. And we're gonna get into the report tomorrow from Circa Magazine and tie all this together. We're coming up on the end of the show here, but I wanted you. We set it in place now. We've got the chronology here. We've got the order of events as they were either occurred or as they were reported or released. And then tomorrow we'll take this report that Circa Magazine did, which I think is a brilliant piece of work, and how they put it all together. So tune in tomorrow, same time, same station out here, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast, and visit our website, the Conservative Syndicate. God love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hayko, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.
Thank you.